I want to do another response to vulcanthug. He had another comment on the same video, my way into metaphysical skepticism / idealism. He has an argument against idealism, and this is the it stems from the or it comes from the interpretation by Saul Kripke of Ludwig Wittgenstein's philosophical investigations. And what this is saying, well, Wittgenstein in the philosophical investigations talks a big thing about private language and how private language is possible and all this stuff, and then the Kripkean interpretation says that language, as it is, cannot refer to phenomena that is not public. Now, and then this is a pretty good argument against idealism, because if you have, like, we have this whole world and we want to communicate about it, so we create language, ways of talking about things and trying to figure things out and all this stuff. And language is from subject to subject, from one to the other, back and forth, from different subjects to other subjects. And I can see how you can't have something that is from subject to subject that is public. You can't have phenomena that is from subject to subject and that is not public. Because if you're having something that is language, and the language is the same, or it's, same and it's referring to the same things from subject to subject, then it's a good argument against idealism. But I have a counter argument, which I don't think that this counter argument can be disproven, nor can it be proven to actually be true either. But this is just saves idealism, because it's called intersubjectivity. People like Husserl and other phenomenologists have talked about it and all, and it's all these people have talked about it and stuff. But I don't want to actually go into the phenomenological ideas of intersubjectivity or anything like that. But I just want to talk about what that actually is. Intersubjectivity is common agreement between subjects. It is something that is common. It's common sense. If something is intersubjective, then it's common sense. Now, this can be contrasted with objective. Now, if something is objective, that means it exists outside of any subject, which means it's a object that is not subjective at all. So if I'm seeing this tree, and that tree is an object outside of me, then that's not a part of me, and it's objective. But there's a counter argument to saying that that tree is objective. The counter argument is saying that this tree is intersubjective. This means that, the reason that one reason that we'll say that this tree is objective is because you'll have multiple people saying that this tree exists, and they will, point out certain characteristics about it, and which will verify which will verify somewhat the existence of this tree, and then you'll have language about this, which people will communicate about this tree. But my argument here with intersubjectivity, what intersubjectivity suggests is that it's possible for something to be more than just for something to be more than just subjective, while at the same time not being a ontological, objective entity outside of any subject. What I'm saying here is that instead of saying this is an objective tree, I'm saying that it's quite possible that even if you have like 5 million people who look at this tree and say, hey, that's a tree, it's tall, green leaves, it's probably an oak tree or whatever. It's probably not an oak tree. I don't know trees, but what I'm saying here is that it's quite possible for all 5 million of those people who are seeing the same, who are supposedly seeing the same tree, to be seeing something that is not objective, or something that's not outside of any subject. It's possible, I think, for subjects to think that, for multiple subjects to think that they're seeing the same things, while either one of two. If this is possible, I think one of two situations is possible for intersubjectivity. One thing is that subjects being close together, it is possible for them to become able to see the same thing, because more of a synchronizing, if you will. That's quite possible because of other minds around minds. The other possibility for this intersubjectivity, if it was true, the other possibility would be that they all point out certain characteristics, but each subject sees a different appearance, or a different representation of the tree. But there's enough commonality in between the different subjects' viewing of the tree to actually have a public language about this tree. Because it's possible, because I think that the consciousness is distorted, and maybe it is a tall round item, but not really a tree. But the consciousness distorts the representation and makes the subject think that they're seeing a nice tall tree. And if this is possible, I think it's also possible that each subject, let's say 5 million subjects are seeing this tree. It's also possible that each of these subjects are seeing slightly different views of this tree, yet it's common enough that they don't recognize these differences when using language in between each other. So that you can have a public language while having large amounts of intersubjectivity. So I think you really can't disprove this. You don't know what the mind is capable of. On the Colbert Report the other night, there was a neuroscientist. He was talking about what goes on under the consciousness. I mean, what goes on under the hood of your mind, or of your brain. That there are many processes, there are many goings on inside of here that you don't even know about, because consciousness is intentionally directed at certain things where the inner workings of it are subconscious and not known by you. And this guy wrote this book talking about all these things. And I think if that's possible, we don't really know what the mind is capable of. We know that it's capable of, X amount of things, but we don't know the full extent of what it's capable of. And I think if it's capable for doing the things that we know that it can do, and it's capable of either synchronizing with other minds, or distorting ontological and ontic things that are seen in different ways, or slightly different ways, allowing for there to be a public language. But that's just that, I think, is a pretty good way of talking about intersubjectivity without, going into the Husserlian or other phenomenological discussions about it. But I think this is a good way to defend idealism, because with this way we can have public language. We can have public language that are referring to what we think are the same phenomena. But we still can't be verifying that tree exists. I think we still can't verify, even though 5 million people are seeing this tree, we can't verify that tree exists, because we have the possibility of 5 million people seeing what they think are the same phenomena, but is probably maybe not the same phenomena. But it's common enough that we can have a public language about it to where we are possibly and most likely misled. And I think because of that we can have idealism with public language. So idealism is compatible with public language. So that's my second response to vulcanthug. But I think that this is very plausible, because this is a good way to think about it. And if you don't think that any of this is possible, please let me know. I'd like to talk about it further. I'd like to make another video to talk about this, because this is fun to discuss. Comment below if you'd like.